Greetings everyone and welcome to the BlastCast. I am Jarvis, with me always is the man who likes hard cider, Lightning Dragon.
It's actually really not that good.
He's a little tipsy today, so we should get the best out of him.
Oh yeah, because I've had like 4 drinks and like actual like drinks, not like whole bottles.
Well, let's get into this week's Star Citizen news. We're going to combine the Around the Verse and the Reverse the Verse. Since it's pretty much the same thing, it's all about grouping. And let's go over the other things they talked about this week. So let's go ahead and move into calling all devs. Now, one of the questions was about what does CIG plan to do to punish griefers while still allowing pirates to do their job. Now, they went into a discussion about the system that's going to be coming into place that creates law bubbles once they create the law system. Patterns can be recognized and noticed. So for example, if someone comes up and blows up some guy, takes his stuff, that's fine. But for example, every time Bob comes out of the hangar, Joe blows him up, the system will recognize this as griefing. Now, the system won't be able to catch everything, so basically they're going to have to do some human monitoring, and I guess that's going to mean the player can do some reporting and then they can examine what was done and kind of go from there. Which is not unexpected. Most MMOs have a certain level of hands-on when it comes to the way that people interact with one another.
I know you don't have it highlighted, but I think this is kind of funny. They asked about weapon modifications, and it's like, yes, that's going to be in the next game. But we don't have the things in the game, the assets, so you can't do it.
Oh yeah, for ship weapons. Well, it's good to know they're actually going to give us that kind of flexibility on ship weapons.
Now, if only we had something else that tied in with that to make combat better.
Like flight?
Yeah, that's the one.
Hey, at least they're still focusing on guns and DPS.
That's all that matters, apparently.
And then we went over to a question to John Crew. If large ships are meant to be unable to outrun fighters, then why don't their guns have the range needed to engage them before they get too close? Now, his answer was that these weapons should in fact be longer range, but many of these changes are coming into 3.2. I don't have any problems with the higher classification weapons having longer ranges and whatnot. It still doesn't address
a fatal flaw with the system.
Well, yeah. For starters, for example, let's use the ship we're going to talk about today, 600i. Having those fixed forward guns, the best you can hope for is to run really, well, probably the wrong word with the current stat. I was going to say really fast. Say as fast as you can, decouple, and then try to line up your guns that way. But with the pacing, it doesn't matter how much range you've got, really. The vector changes how quick they are. In fact, at further distances, it's going to be even harder to hit, so it's a lose-lose. They need to focus on their flight model and get things moving the right way. Otherwise, I don't care what kind of range you give guns. Not going to matter.
That reminds me of World of Warships. If you're in like a battleship where you got like a 30-second reload on your guns and you're firing at a destroyer at long range, your shells are in the air for upwards of up to like 5 seconds. That destroyer is probably not going to be anywhere where you aimed once those shells land there. And you know, you fire so slow between them, doesn't matter how long your range is.
Yeah, pretty much. Alright, well let's move into the main subject of the show, which was talking about 3.2, the good and the bad. We like to talk about things on this channel that are good and bad. We're not going to just white knight shill everything, so let's go ahead and jump.
I only talk about bad things, that's why I exist.
That's your, well, yeah.
It's kind of funny. I feel like as we've done this, it's like you're always trying to point out the good things. And I'm like, but don't forget about all the crappy things.
You are my other half. So let's start with the good things. Mining, very solid. It's at a very good tier 0 implementation place. It's engaging. It's interesting. I think it is very hopeful to see what the mining mechanics are going to be on something like the Orion. And right now, it seems to be probably one of the most expedient ways for you to make money in the PU.
Until they nerf it.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe. Yeah, that's true. Cargo used to be pretty good. But right, I loaded up my my prospector, and I was able to make over 1,600 credits in, I'd say, about 5 to 10 minutes. So not too bad. Way better than going out and getting a mission where you risk your life for 300. Logging out of your ship's bed, you'll now log back into your ship. That's fantastic. We've been waiting for that implementation for a long time. So if you don't want to go back to Port Olisar and your ship has a bed, just park it, go to your bed. When you log back in next time, you're right there again.
Yeah, and hopefully this will stop some of the, if you get disconnected, your ship doesn't just disappear and it's like, oh, you have to file an insurance claim, because that's really annoying.
Yeah, I've actually logged back in after being disconnected. I think they give you a 5-minute window. Now onto the Eclipse. I do not like the visibility of the cockpit. The rest of the ship, I like the aesthetics of it, but the visibility in the cockpit is terrible. If you take a look at the front of the Eclipse, you see that about 40, maybe even 50% or more of the glass is blocked by the control panel. I don't get this thinking. Basically, take that control panel, slide it down and forward, take that chair, and move it down and forward, and you can look up again. Having the panel above you block your view is well, it's a little unwieldy. The Avenger rework, that is a damn nice rework. Now, for those of you who own an Avenger, this is all gravy. And for those looking for a starting ship, once again, the Avenger could not be praised higher as the best place to start. And now after these changes, even better. There's still some visual bugs there, but that'll be hammered out. Now, on to a little bit of what some people are saying on the forums related to 3.2. Some people are upset that the pacing of the game makes it hard for them to manage energy on their systems. I wonder where we've heard this before, Lightning.
Oh, man, I have no idea. I don't think anybody's ever talked about this, ever.
No, it couldn't have been us like more than a year ago bringing up the fact pacing would cause problems with MFDs. We're completely clueless on this.
Yeah, or maybe there's somebody else out there, they might know.
So my suggestion, since we're dealing with the power systems now, is that triangle it's pretty unwieldy. I've never been a fan of it. It's not accurate. Plus the fact that every time you try to adjust it, your head is bobbing and you're not getting it exactly where you want it. It's a real pain in the ass. So as unfortunate as it is, I'm going to refer to Star Trek Online's power system. And I feel terrible for having to refer to this game because it's not a good game, but this system would actually work. Now, instead of having a triangle, what you can do is have bars that you can set power levels to. Now, for example, if you raise up one bar, say by 10, the other two bars go down by 5. And if you want to only pull power off of one particular system when you raise another, you simply lock the bar into position that which you want to keep at the same level.
For those that haven't played Star Trek Online, you have a certain allotment of power based on your ship. So you may have like 200 power to spare. So you could have like 2 things at like 70 and everything else at like 5 or 4 or 10 or something.
Exactly. Then you create an overall power bar just next to it, and you use this bar to quickly drop power levels down to everything to have a more stealthy level, and it can all be done in a very tight package, along with, for example, 3 pre-saved settings that you can use and quickly access by pressing, for example, 1, 2, or 3. You can have a combat, a stealth, a defensive, whatever. And instantly the power levels will change over, and then of course the power will need to move, and that will take time, but at least you can quickly do it without grabbing individual bars. I just find it to be a very simple way of using a trio system like this. It's visually understandable. If you look at the picture, you'll see that those little triangles are pointing at the current level, and the green is the things that go past that. So if you have something that takes the power past the point, like an overflow, it's basically saying, here's the minimum that we want power to go to. Let's use the one on the right, for example. Let's say that the green bar pulls down to the level the arrow is. They'll start pulling power off of the other systems down to their arrow until basically there's nothing left to pull, and then it holds everything there. Either you stop firing or, things just start running out of power.
Yeah, or everything starts running out of power and the ship starts warning you.
Exactly. But it sets a priority.
And as you were saying 3. I'm assuming you're talking about like shields, engines, and weapons, right?
Yeah.
I would like to see 4th option, maybe not on all ships, but when you start getting into the larger ships like a Connie, Freelancer, and things like that, or very specialized ships, they'd have like an additional like reserve power, which Star Trek had that reserve power. And this could act kind of like WEP, which was wartime emergency power from World War II, I believe that was the acronym. You think of it like a battery storage, and you have this much extra power. So if you want to keep things at a very, very high level, you could like block them, or it'd just be a default setting depending on how the ship works. And it would start pulling from those emergency reserves as your power started getting lower than what your demand was. So if like you want to have 75% power in your weapons, but you're firing so much it's dropping below that, it'll start pulling from your reserves, if you allow such, to keep you at that 75. And once you're out of that, then that's it, and it would take a long time to recharge. And having something like this would either allow you to keep up the fight more, like if you're in a heavy fighter or some kind of interceptor where you need that extra power in your guns, or if you're in a ship that has really high defenses, it'll keep your guns firing while your shields take all the brunt, or maybe you make sure that it goes into your shields to keep you going until you can, warp out of there or something.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Aux power in large ships makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Star Trek is a great example for this. I mean, they're always like, auxiliary power to such and such.
Now let's get into my big bugaboo, the 600i. Now let's start with the aesthetics. Obviously the ship blew up in size. It's now the size roughly of a Starfarer. That's fine. I get that sometimes, and that was talked about briefly after, well, even during the pledging, it was very clearly known that this change was coming. But it feels in some regards that the internals haven't been adjusted for this change in size. There is a lot of empty or wasted space, which I'm not totally against. Aesthetically speaking, I mean, I can totally get the ability of wanting to move around. It just feels like they could have added a bit more to the interior. For example, like I personally believe that having the exploration seats way in the back was fine when the ship was, 30 meters shorter. But instead of having them in the room behind, they could move the chairs to the bridge and have that globe behind the captain's chair. It would all be encompassed in one area. The way they are right now is kind of weird because they face out and the globe is on the other side of a glass wall and they're not even facing it. So if they need to reference it, they have to turn backwards past 90 degrees to look at the globe to their right or to their left, depending on where you're sitting. So that's a little bit of an odd choice. Also the bar. There's a bar in the back, and it has the people using the bar sitting at the bar facing the back wall and not facing out the window. That's kind of a weird one, because if you're sitting on a luxury ship, how come the bartender gets the good view? As I said, these are nitpicky things, but generally speaking, I think aesthetically it's a really well done ship. Now, dealing with one thing it's, I guess, technically nitpicky because it's a game and it doesn't really matter except if you're into aesthetics. The little arms that hold on the turrets. It looks like they're being held on by a 1x1 piece of rebar. And it looks like the first time you turn, the turrets would snap right off and float into space. I don't know why they couldn't have gone with a periscoping solid round tube or something that would have been a bit more solid looking, because it really looks terrible. Some people complain about the landing gear. I think it could use maybe a bit more detail or at least aesthetically blend a bit better, but generally speaking, it's functional. So, I'll take it.
What if the bartender was in the middle of the room on one of those spinny showroom things where it has a car and it spins in a circle so you have a full 360 degree view if you're sitting at the bar at all times?
Well, they had the room for it. The back area where that table is, it's like everything blew up, right? Everything got bigger. But the table did, and it's weird. It's like you're a hobbit inside of a normal person's ship in some regards. It's like things scaled up. Some things did, some things didn't, and there's this is an odd disconnect. Maybe they'll fix or adjust some of that stuff over time.
One can hope.
The big problem with this ship is in the parts. It's basically a Starfarer-sized ship that has the components of a freelancer. What happened is that people were complaining about the fact that you can, for example, blow off a wing with a single pistol shot, and it has 3 thrusters attached to it. So 2 pistol shots and you take off 6 thrusters. That seems a little weak.
That's because it's a beeper clip.
It's really starting to feel like it. And you talked about that when the ship was first pledged.
When they first showed that thing, it's like, is it sitting in something? Please tell me it's sitting in something.
Well, apparently it is, because you shoot 2 bullets and that thing sheds it just like taking a beeper out of the case.
Yeah, and then unfortunately the beeper case has a bunch of your thrusters attached to it.
What I thought they should do is add some internal support struts, just thin ones that are on the inside that connect it to the main body, and then you have more connection points and it looks a little bit more solid.
There's this thing that they do with naval ships and even airplanes, is they'll have a very thin strip that runs from the front and back of something, and it gives you stabilization, either in water or in air, and they could have those running all the way along the clip, because I'm going to call it forever. It's not space armor, it's a clip. And another thing they could do is they could just put a hole in the clip and have the thruster attached to the main body, so even if the clip gets blown up, you don't lose your thrusters.
Yeah, all sorts of solutions.
I mean, it's such a simple... I don't understand what they're doing half the time when it takes anybody can come up with these ideas.
Well, even with all these complaints, our new head of ship production pipeline, John Crew, said that the ship has all that it needs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, like a Ferrari getting a Chevy Metro engine, it has everything it needs to barely function and move. Now, the thing is that we've already seen John Crew before, and we talked about him, maybe not directly by name, but I'm just going to do it this time because it's getting annoying. He's not a passionate developer, And I'm going to show you why I say that. There's a clip here from an infamous show, and I'll have a link to the entire show down below, where they got into flight balance issues. Of course, they really didn't address anything, and, well, I'll let you see it for yourself.
Many of us feel that pilot control of gimbaled weapons, especially with regards to zero-order mouse control of those gimbals, takes the game very far from what was pitched as a successor to Wing Commander. This has been the biggest ongoing source of strife and argument in the forums for the past 3 years. I don't know about that, but yeah, but I'm just reading the question. Can you please address this and give us some idea of how you plan to go forward? So this is obviously a mouse versus joystick question.
It's the classic,
Yes.
the age-old argument of which is better.
It's not the glamorous side that everyone wants to.
No, it's kind of hard to find people to do controls.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of see that why this kind of attitude, this kind of thought process is creating a roadblock to making flight better. They just, oh no, it's fine. It's fine the way it is. Oh, there's no problem. Well, let's rephrase the question and, ignore what was actually asked, answer something that wasn't, and stare blankly into the camera. That one, of course, is John Crew. That's Lando. Having made flight controls utterly terrible in every sense of the word, he's now failed upwards to become the head of the ship pipeline. So I'm going to make a recommendation here. If you're going to buy a ship in Star Citizen, don't buy any of the upcoming pledges, any new concepts. Stay away. He's going to be in charge of getting those implemented. They're going to be as terrible as the 600 Eyes components. I have a feeling we're going to have to go through this nearly on every ship because he knows best. It doesn't matter if the ship was promised to be something a certain way. It doesn't matter what it says. John Crew's going to do what John Crew does. There's tons of other ships out there. Once again, Venture Titan, damn good ship, form and function. But there's no way I have any interest in pledging anything Star Citizen has to put out again, as long as I know John Crew is in charge of the ship production pipeline. Not happening. Not happening. I'd rather flush my money directly down the toilet. I will get more use out of it watching it spin.
It's the new.
Oh yeah, the Vanguard. Yeah, they totally Vanguarded the ship, and
it's the Vanguard all
not in
over
looks,
again.
but definitely in function. The ship has all the survivability of a fart in a windstorm. As I said, 2 pistol shots, you have your wings torn off. It is garbage. It was supposed to be the fastest in its class. It says, oh yeah, but we upsized it. It's like, yeah, but you kept that pledge alive even after you upsized it. The Reclaimer is faster than it. The Reclaimer.
So the Reclaimer can go up to it, grab it with the big claw arm,
Yeah.
and then instantly break off the beeper clip and salvage the beeper clip.
Why waste the energy with the claw now? All you have to do is have a guy open the side doors with with the airlocks and just shoot right out the side, and then just worry about picking out the main body. But it's just insulting. Now let me go ahead and put up a screen here, and I'll give you an example because these parts haven't changed and they upsized everything. Now, the left one is the 600i, the middle one is the Caterpillar, and the right one is the Starfarer. Now, remember, this ship is now Starfarer-sized, and it's supposed to be a deep space exploration vessel that's high on speed, high on maneuverability, and high on defense. It's neither of those. They kept all these components, and all you have to do is, let's just use the Starfarer primarily. Now, the reason you see, 2 sets of stats, on the Caterpillar in the middle, is because the smaller one is going to be for the separating module that's actually the bridge. So you can just ignore those and just look at the ones that are the largest of the 2 if there's 2 stats. This thing doesn't even have the fuel capacity to go further than a Caterpillar. It's a deep space exploration ship, but it has everything that it needs, apparently.
Unless it's got some hyper-efficient engines.
I'm just going to let you look at that. You can pause the video. You can go to the website, pull this up yourself. I'm not going to it's too painful to deal with on that. This needs to be fixed and adjusted because it does not have everything it needs. What it has is everything it needs for a pirate to get free loot.
More loot pinatas. Just what we always wanted.
Now, lastly, I thought we would be done with the show and how the notes put together. Suddenly, a wild John Pritchett appears. He put out a post, which I'll also leave linked down below, which gives details on the breakdown of how IFCS works, and it is really worth the read. Now, I'm going to read you a quote from this paper that I think perfectly surmises the situation that the game is in. And this regards how IFCS works and how he had to build it based on what CIG wanted. The downside of this approach is that it is possible to achieve any desired performance for a ship, regardless how realistic. If a designer wants to tune an Idris to go from 0 to 1 kilometer a second, this system will generate thrust capacities that will allow the ship to achieve this performance, regardless of whether it is reasonable. If care is not taken, a ship can end up with, for example, a small diameter MAV generating several million newtons of force, while a larger diameter main generates only a fraction of that amount. While this would be strictly realistic within the simulation, it would not be reasonable. Based on in-fiction tech limits, thrusters should maintain a general relationship between size and capacity. This limitation is not enforced by the simulation. It is entirely up to the designer to balance desired performance goals against realistic physical behaviors for each ship. Basically what he's saying there is that it's not my engine. My engine works. But what is put into it creates the situation that we have.
I believe we've already done a video on this, and I was very tempted to make an updated version of this, but you're like, nah, it's not worth it, dude.
If you check the link down below, there's going to be the John Pritchett's post. I replied to him, and we spent some back and forth. Okay, check the link in the Spectrum. I also linked the videos that we're talking about in here, where we use Kerbal as an example to show the overpowered thrusters. John Pritchett found it very interesting. And then I linked a little bit further down the creating variation in flight and how these principles apply. I think it's very important for the community to know this flight situation is not John Pritchett's fault. This is basically, you've got one set of guys over here who believe that this controller has to do this and this controller has to do this, and then the weapon systems have to be balanced differently between this and this, completely disregarding the fact that some ships going to have to use that other weapon system anyway, and not coming up with unified systems and just mishmashing and jamming and not understanding what's going on, and not having any passion for what they do, and it shows. And then to make all this work, they have
it is the definition of too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, there's like no centralized thought process outside of having, here's a nice engine, and then you have all these people like trying to wrap all the stuff around it. You know, they're turning the game into, well, the Homer. If you ever run the Simpsons episode, that's what it is. It's the Homer. It's the ultimate ugly car. It's not, the engine's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's got, tank treads on the back, triangle wheels in the front. The steering wheel's covered in spikes because it looks cool. It may cut your hand, but whatever.
Got a coffee maker.
It's got a coffee maker right on your lap for some reason. So it's ready to go. But
right between your legs, right in spilling range.
Exactly. It just saves time. So the whole point, though, is that read this paper. I think it's like 21 pages. Add your thoughts to this in that forum. You're going to find the links to my video and in the replies that I had. There's 2 videos. If you're interested, they're time-stamped. Give them a watch. But yeah, thank goodness that he wrote this. Thank goodness he put this out there, because if you pay attention, you can see what he's saying. And what he's saying is, I didn't do it. It's them. Maybe this will open up some conversation. So once again, I'd like to thank John Pritchett for making that paper, for doing what he's been doing. I know you probably have to fight through a lot of BS because you're dealing with, you're knowledgeable, you understand about how things work, you understand physics. These other guys don't understand flight, and the two don't mix.
They're just trying to have values, goals, and the system will do those goals because it's overpowered. It's designed to be used for everything, so it has the ability to do everything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it should.
Yeah, in a brief summary, if you don't want to go watch the video where we used KSP, basically, if the engine can do, 1,000 kilonewtons of thrust or whatever, if you give it that 1,000 all at once, it basically blows the ship up.
Yeah, it kills the pilot before that even happens.
Yeah, if you're in atmosphere, you get re-entry heat at 500 feet off the ground and you explode. But if you don't go to 100%, it can fly like any other vehicle, and that's basically the problem.
Yeah, too much in. Alright, later this week I continue my explorations into DCS. We are approaching the 30-day mark where I will be doing a video answering, do I want DCS in space, and if so, what parts? Just to let you know as well, for those interested in DCS until July 5th, they're running a 50% off sale for pretty much everything in the game, I think with the exception of 3 modules, the F-18 Hornet, Saudi Arabia, and a new Mirage mission pack, I think it came out. But everything else, literally everything else outside of that is half off. So if you're ever interested in looking at, the base game is free, and you can get the basic Flaming Cliffs 3 expansion, which will give you like 8 additional planes for like $25 or something like that. Maybe it's 29, but something in that area. Good deal all around. Now, because of the sale, I did snag several new planes and pretty much every mission related to them because I love this game. And I even managed to snag Lightning Dragon, the L-39, which allows 2 people to fly in the same plane. And so we went out for the first test flight ever in this plane.
Use the Force.
Yep, and he did test my Jedi abilities by blinding me, and you'll get to see all that stuff too, because he's kind of a dick as a Rio, so...
Well, I mean, if I had more things to do and not just play with all the buttons, because it's a full sim airplane, so all the buttons and dials.
Watching my warning lights going off. What does this do? Do. Stop it.
Yeah, and what is it? The air conditioning. I turned it off, and it didn't turn back on. It was just stuck off.
Yeah, you
forever.
broke my air conditioning. Thanks.
I think I broke my air conditioning. I don't know about yours.
I had lights. All right, everyone. Well, that's about it for this week's BlastCast. As always, leave your comments and suggestions down below, and we will see you on the next one.
Woohoo! I mean, bye.
He's drinking too much.
I haven't drank like anything. I've had like 1 drink since we started.